If you don't mind standing up and introduce yourself.
My name is Stephen Wong. Would you comment on the recent appointment of, I can't remember the first name, but it could be Luis and Varga to the Senate of Canada?
Who would like to take on the appointment of Luis and Varga to the Senate of Canada? Any comment? I think it's really crucial for Filipinos to be part of the government system of Canada, and I think it's really crucial for us to be represented in multiple levels.
Can you care to comment on this question?
That was the... We're quite pleased that there is a Filipino in the Senate. Other questions or comments for the artists, the contributors? Or about the book, the process? Yes.
I just wanted to know how many years it took and what was the criteria to be a contributor?
I'll ask one of my co-editors.
I actually brought the poster for the,
Original.
so I'll show you that. This is the poster from the 2009 symposium that gave rise to this book. This is, as the title says, it's the conference or the workshop of Specters of Invisibility. We started locally. There was, it seemed to us, a kind of critical mass of scholars and scholar activists in the Greater Toronto area, and so the workshop, a lot of the participants were from the Greater Toronto area. And a lot of the chapters were drawn from the contributors from the workshop. But not everyone can contribute, and we also wanted to round out the contributors, and so we invited people who deal with topics or who are from regions outside of the GTA. So we have several contributors who are also from the Greater Vancouver area, and people who worked in Montreal, for example. So does that answer your question?
Well, just specifically like the economic and educational backgrounds, and did they have to be Filipino? Like I don't know how many contributors are non-Filipino, but it predominant. Like, could you just be more specific about?
The table of contents and the bio pages in the book give us that information. You didn't have to be Filipino. In fact, we have several contributors who are not of Filipino descent, but who work with Filipino community organizations, for example. In the case of our conclusion, we invited Minamatani and David Roberts to situate the book in the broader literature on Canadian studies, because that is where they locate themselves. And that is partly why they are there. What else?
And I think as you can see from our grouping here, that we do have a variety of folks who are part of the book. Go ahead. About the contributors?
About the contributors, yes. Our contribution here is the third chapter, and I'm very pleased to let you know why a non-Filipino, Dr. Philip Kelly, is part of that chapter. In fact, he is the lead in the research. But it's this chapter was a collaboration between Dr. Philip Kelly and the Community Alliance for Social Justice, and he authored the final research, myself co-authored, and Ricky Isguera as well. But if you will notice in this particular chapter, Community Alliance for Social Justice is also an author. And if I explain it, it's quite a lengthy explanation. It entails our partnership for several years, starting from the work that was done in the Jeffrey Riotica case, which is also cited in an article made reference in a study on youth. Dr. Philip Kelly was there from the very start, at the beginning of the formation of the Community Alliance for Social Justice, because this alliance was a very organic movement that came out of advocacy for justice for Jeffrey Riotica. He was the youth gunned down by police, and community was mobilized to work towards justice for Jeffrey. And a conference was held with the community to find out if this was really a big issue, because it certainly generated a lot of support within the community. We found out in the conference the issue of the live-in caregivers and the deprofessionalization was also a big issue. And Dr. Kelly provided research support data. And that was how he became very much a part, not only of the research, but also in the advocacy for political change and youth and justice, live-in caregiver program, and also in the area of the professionalization. Philip, there he is.
Oh, right there, okay.
So in other words, it is those non-Filipinos are very much concerned on issues close to the heart and minds of Filipinos to somehow get into a volume like this, Filipinos in Canada.
As Bonnie mentioned, there is definitely a genealogy of Filipino-Canadian studies with scholars and community scholars who are both Filipino and non-Filipinos. Part of our effort here in Critical Colectivo is to gather folks, faculty, students, and community members who are interested in pursuing research in critical Filipino studies. But also part of our interest here is to grow Filipino-Canadian academics. As far as we know, there are only 7 of us of Filipino descent who are professors in the humanities and social sciences in the entire country. 7. There's here at University of Toronto, there's myself and a professor of chemistry. So if we take a look at our community here of being the largest source of migrants to Canada and the 4th largest racialized minority group, it is quite imperative, at least for me as a Filipino here at University of Toronto, to help grow the number of academics who are of Filipino descent. So part of the intervention that we want to make in this book is to highlight the wonderful, rigorous, and strong scholarship that our graduate students, ranging from anthropology, political science, geography, women and gender studies, adult education, information studies, the widest range that we can see, and their intervention not only in their respective fields, but also in helping to constitute Filipino-Canadian studies. I think it's crucial to be able to work with our white allies and non-Filipino allies in strengthening our academic and methodological capability. But I think it's also time to grow our own to ensure that this field can really be as robust and productive as we can be.